My childhood was difficult. My father left the family and my mother was left alone with 3 children. That's why I knew for sure that I would build my own happy family. Up to a certain point, that's exactly what I thought. Until a series of events occurred, because of which I had to resort to manipulating money and changing my name. Life has pretty much battered me. My wife wanted to deprive me of everything. And now, I'm going to tell you my story. Hello everyone, I consider myself a simple person, not in the sense of simplicity, but because I find joy in the little things. I don't need a fancy house or a new car every couple of years, a cozy home, good food, a drink from time to time, and a woman with whom I can share my life. That's what makes me satisfied and truly happy. Ideally, I want a quiet life with my soulmate. My ideal day includes a few hours of fishing, fiddling with an old sports car or pickup truck, an evening barbecue with beer, a good dinner, and then a relaxing evening with a glass of wine, sharing it all with my wife. It's all about simplicity, and that's why I consider myself a simple person. I find happiness in simple things. To give you a visual, I'm an average-built guy, 5'10", with brown hair and eyes, and even though I'm already 50 years old and age has taken its toll, but I still don't need pills to feel good. Brenda, my current girlfriend of 5 years, is 43 and still quite attractive, with the typical Latina features. My day usually kicks off at 5 a.m., shower, dress up, coffee, breakfast, and off to the yacht. But not before I unfailingly kiss Brenda goodbye. Most mornings I spend fishing, selling my catch to local shops, or occasionally taking tourists on charters to supplement my income, although I don't really need it. Having sold my catch, I return home to Brenda preparing dinner. After lunch, I clean the fish and then retreat to the garage to tinker with my latest project, a 1967 GMC pickup. The evening ritual involves a glass of wine or a bottle of beer, relaxing on the porch, firing up the barbecue, and cooking dinner: steaks, fish, or chicken. Brenda usually joins me with a glass of wine, and we chat about our days. Post-dinner cleanup is followed by settling down on the couch, reading books, and engaging in conversations. In bed, we're usually intimate, and even on nights when we don't make love, we cuddle in our sleep. It's a content and satisfying life. Occasionally, we visit the local bar or invite friends over, so we're not complete hermits. The small coastal town knows me well, and I could see myself living here forever, until the night I saw her. Brenda and I were having a good time at a local bar when she came in. A red-haired beauty, tall, athletic, with emerald green eyes. She looked like my wife at her age. The catch is that I'm already married, a fact that Brenda knows and accepts. My wife has no idea about Brenda, and I'm doing my best to keep it that way. However, serious problems arise when my youngest daughter walks into the same bar. We need to leave, and quickly, so that my daughter doesn't tell my ex everything. I explained the situation to Brenda in a whisper, and we quietly left, leaving our friends with a vague excuse, knowing that later I would have to tell the real story. I just left, and when the door closed behind me, I realized that you were probably wondering what the hell was going on. To tell you the truth, you may have a general idea, but now let me tell you in more detail. I am currently hiding from my unfaithful psychopathic wife. She cheated on me and planned to ruin me in the divorce if I didn't just give it all up. I decided I couldn't let that happen. Once known as Antonio Allen, my birth name is still legally valid, but for obvious reasons I no longer use it. Growing up in a small California town, I was the middle child in a family consisting of me, an older brother, and a younger sister. After the death of my parents in a car accident in my freshman year of college, and the death of my brother in a construction accident a year later, my sister and I became estranged from each other. We don't even exchange greetings anymore. After earning a civil engineering degree, I moved across the country in search of a job. Working for a large engineering firm, I met Sharon through a friend. Despite red flags, her pursuit of a college education to delay adulthood, and a Mrs. degree, her beauty, charm, and apparent intelligence captivated me. We clicked, and after a few dates, we became exclusive. 3 months later, she spent the night, and 3 months after that, I proposed. A year later, we got married. Our married life was seemingly blissful. Sharon became a full-time mom after discovering her pregnancy, and we welcomed 3 healthy children, James, Michael, and Kimberly. Kimberly especially had me wrapped around her little finger and became daddy's girl. Sharon stayed at home and I provided for the family. By 30, I was promoted to senior engineer, and a year later, we bought a house in the suburbs. Life was good. We had nice cars, our home, and date nights. Sharon actively participated in the kids' extracurricular activities, and I supported her by attending every event. On April 9th, a few months after turning 45, something shook my world. During lunchtime, returning from a construction site near home, I noticed a car turning into my driveway. To my shock, my best friend Earl got out. Aware I wasn't home, I observed from afar, realizing something was wrong. I parked down the street, watching as he walked up to the door and entered using a key. Alarmed, I called the office and informed them of project delays, returning home later. Walking around our backyard, I noticed a small gap in the bedroom blinds, and the blinds on the patio door were usually left open. Moving stealthily along the edge of the yard, I hid behind bushes, watching what was happening through the French doors. My wife was standing there in a very short robe and passionately kissing my former best friend. I quickly took out my cell phone and recorded their actions as they moved towards the hallway. I moved to the bedroom window, continuing to film everything that was happening. When she came in, she took off her robe and I had to stop recording when his trousers came down. Soon after, I couldn't stand the sight anymore and left, stealthily moving away from the window, and God, I'm so lucky they didn't notice me. I understand that many people can write that in this case you can kick both their asses, but at that moment it hurt me to look at it. So what would you do if God forbid you were in my place? But what actions I have taken I will tell you now. Returning to the office, I felt dazed. I never anticipated that she would betray our marriage. Desiring more information, my engineering brain kicked in after a couple of hours. Engineers solve problems. It's in our nature. I convinced Sharon that I'd be home a bit later, a plausible excuse as it wasn't uncommon for me to work late. Online, I sourced several discreet Wi-Fi security cameras. Although they were pricey, I managed the finances, ensuring she wouldn't notice until it was too late. I had them delivered to my office to avoid suspicion at home. Simultaneously, I manipulated our savings and retirement accounts, making subtle changes. My last task was delving into divorce laws. Not a pleasant task, but necessary. Over the next week, I needed to act normal, concealing my newfound knowledge from her. Claiming a potential cold, I avoided close contact and intimacy. We slept apart, signaling a growing rift. On Friday, the cameras arrived and I concealed them in strategic spots. As Sharon went shopping, I discreetly placed cameras in the bedroom, living room, and kitchen. While the kids were out, I hid the recording device in the attic, a place Sharon had never ventured. I must admit we had intimacy that night. She remained an attractive woman, and our physical connection had always been satisfying. Sunday was spent with the children, engaging in fatherly activities. I prepared a steak dinner, watched a movie, and retired. Monday at work was challenging, my thoughts consumed by what awaited me on the cameras. Finally returning home, Sharon sensed my distress, but I attributed it to a personnel issue at work. I excused myself to the home office after dinner, covertly downloading the video to a flash drive. Watching the footage, I quickly fast-forwarded to the moment when Earl entered. There were shots of them kissing in the living room, engaging in intimate acts on our bed, and sharing moments in the bathroom. An hour later, they dressed, shared another passionate kiss, and he left. The shocking revelation led me to contemplate a more detailed investigation at work the next day. That night, Sharon noticed my persisting gloominess. I reiterated the personnel matter, hinting at a potential firing I disliked. The following morning brought an even greater shock as I listened to the audio part of the recording.
"When are you going to leave Antonio's sorry ass and run away with me?"
Earl inquired.
"I can't yet,"
she replied.
"I want to wait until the children finish school. Until then, he'll distract them too much. Besides, he makes very good money, and I want to accumulate some good capital before I take him to the cleaners."
Earl probed.
"You hate him so much.
No, I like him, and he provides for me well, but I never really loved him. I always saw it only as a good meal ticket. He's decent in bed, but I've always considered him more of a friend with benefits. The thing is, when I eventually divorce him, I'll need to secure as much of his property as possible to maintain the lifestyle I desire. It's not about wanting to cheat him. I just want to ensure I can live comfortably without the need to work for the rest of my life.
Why not find another husband who's more compatible? What if he finds out about us and you end up on the street?
He won't. And even if he does, I'll give him the hard facts during the divorce. I haven't worked since about 6 months into our marriage, ensuring I'll receive substantial alimony, child support, education, and health care for the children, as well as a significant portion of our savings and pension. I'll also aim for full custody of the kids and get a house out of it. After hearing all this, he'll have no choice but to accept it. If he tries to start a war, I'll destroy him.
It was at that very moment that my world finally turned upside down, and I began to think about how to protect myself in the first place. At that moment, I probably wasn't very aware of the seriousness of the situation, but the only thing I knew was that I needed to act immediately. I spent the day researching divorce laws in our state, realizing it was a grim situation. Consulting a friend who's an attorney, we discussed my options, understanding I'd have to pay a considerable sum in child support, give her the house, split my savings and pension, and pay monthly alimony due to her lack of employment during our marriage. The state wouldn't care about her betrayal. Feeling completely screwed, I knew there was only one thing I could do, even though it would hurt. Over the next 2 months, I gathered fake documents, quit my job, cashed in my pension, and refinanced the house, putting the money into offshore accounts. I created several offshore bank accounts online, transferring money in random amounts to avoid detection. I withdrew cash from ATMs, deposited it into new accounts in my name, and electronically transferred it offshore, ensuring all our accounts were emptied to just a couple of thousand. I sold my car for cash, put the money into offshore accounts, and, claiming a day off, went to the office while she trained at the gym. The videos and information I collected were stored on flash drives and the cloud. Before sending a mass email to friends and her family, I completed the final transfer of funds to the offshore accounts, closed all domestic accounts, and burned all statements and papers in the grill to leave no paper trail. The computer was reformatted, and a flash drive with a destructive virus was inserted. The accounts were secured, and the paper trail erased, making it challenging to find an account one doesn't even know about. Anyone could piece together the events. I'd transferred the money multiple times, eliminating all traces. With my briefcase and a suitcase, I drove to the airport, making 3 stops along the way. Each of my children's schools received a flash drive for them, and another was delivered to the home of the goat, leaving his embarrassed wife in possession. Abandoning the car at the airport, I embarked on 6 flights, utilized 3 rental cars, traversed various airports, and visited 4 countries over a week before landing in Costa Rica, ready to begin a new life with a fresh identity. And before you label me a complete nerd, let me clarify. I established a trust fund for my children. This fund would cover their education expenses and ensure they each received ample money for their needs. A trusted friend from work became the fund's trustee, ensuring the children received everything they required. However, not a penny could be accessed by my wife. Basic needs like meals and rent for the children were covered, providing her with decent housing and food, albeit without any luxuries. The house would eventually face foreclosure, compelling her to find alternative accommodation. Thanks to my strategic actions and investments over 6 years, I have accumulated more than $5 million in the bank. And the most important thing is that Sharon had nothing to do with them. And now let me tell you why I chose this course of action and where I got $5 million. Fast forward to spring break during my junior year of college. I pursued engineering, following in my father's footsteps, though I hadn't seen him in the 6 years since he left home, leaving behind a chaotic mess. My father had left each of us a flash drive, revealing the unsettling truth about what Mom was up to. It was challenging for a while. Mom lost her house, and we had to settle for a much smaller rented one. She even had to find a job, a task she despised. Fortunately, my father left a trust to take care of us, ensuring we never went without necessities. The trust was meticulous. Nothing for Mom. She had to source money for clothes and extras. Thus, I covered all my basic needs and did not need anything, and if you drew a parallel, you probably realized that I did the same things as my father many years ago. Unfortunately, he also had to face betrayal from a woman he loved very much, and what he did, I do not despise him for this. I believe that he acted not only in his own interests, but also in the interests of his children, because thanks to him, I was able to lay the foundation for my future life. Now let's get back to the present. I ran away from my wife even before she could implement her plan with my best friend. I lived happily for 5 years, even though I was married. It didn't bother my current girlfriend in any way. She was understanding, but she still said that sooner or later I would need to meet with my wife to discuss everything. The thought terrified me. I didn't want to do it, just because I didn't want to see her face. I was very disgusted with my wife. You can call me a coward because I just disappeared and didn't get in touch for 5 years. And honestly, I'm afraid to get in touch. In 5 years, I've been able to build a new life for myself and most importantly, be happy. But I also understand that it is impossible to hide anymore because sooner or later they will notice me, and then it will be really bad, because my children and sister are looking for me in different states and can find me at any moment. I learned about the life of Sharon and her lover thanks to my lawyer friend, who called me every week and told me the latest news. As it turned out, after I implemented my revenge plan and left, Sharon could not understand for a long time what had happened. She just could not believe it, that her husband, who had always been faithful and gave her a lot of pocket money, suddenly disappeared, leaving her penniless. The first stone in her came from her parents and loved ones, to whom I anonymously sent photos of her cheating on me with my best friend. And yes, the consequences of this exceeded all my expectations. The fact is that her parents are religious people, and Sharon was brought up in, let's say, the right family. She was a smart girl, an excellent student, and always was an example for other children, and her parents were very proud of her. Now imagine her parents know that their daughter married a decent man. They have 3 children, a house, a car. They can afford to travel, and the whole illusion collapses when an anonymous letter arrives in their mail. Introduced. I will say that her parents and all her close people turned away from her. She was despised. Of course, it's not pleasant to face this, but she deserves it, and I'm not ashamed of it at all. Surprisingly, my fake friend Earl, who often visited her, turned away from her. I think this was due to the fact that she was a laughingstock for society, and therefore he did not want to be near such a person, a lying asshole. By the way, he tried to contact me and kind of threatened to punch me in the face and demanded moral compensation for the damage caused. It made me laugh, because I changed all my data. I'm a different person now. Let's go back to my wife, or to be more precise, to my ex-wife. I looked at her photos and she clearly recovered, stopped taking care of herself, and as I understood it, she has not entered into any relationship for a long time. I can't say I'm gloating. I don't care what she has there. The main thing for me is that my children feel good and they don't need anything. Now back to that moment in the bar. My ex-wife has been trying to find me for the last 5 years, and my sister is helping her with this. I hoped that I could hide forever because I didn't leave any traces, but unfortunately, you can't be 100% sure of something. Something can always go wrong. At the beginning of my story, I mentioned a bar where we often rested with friends, and it was into this bar that a girl entered who reminded me of my unfaithful wife. It was our daughter who somehow found out which state I live in and hid for the 5th year. That day, I started to get really paranoid. I didn't know what to do. Brenda tried to calm me down, but to no avail. The next day, I called a friend from this bar, and he said that a girl came yesterday and wanted to get her mother a job as a waitress, named Sharon, but she was refused. To be honest, this news struck me. What did she forget in this place? But then I remembered that when we were still together, we often came to this place. We felt good here, and we discussed how in our old age we would buy a house by the lake here and enjoy life. And I assumed that she just moved here with my daughter to save money and remember her youth. I didn't know what to do, and Brenda told me that I needed to talk to her, explaining that maybe she didn't want to hurt me and realized her mistake a long time ago. I reluctantly accepted her decision. Brenda is a wise woman, and that's why I love her. I listened to her and decided to meet with Sharon. I got her phone number through my friend at the bar. I called her the next day and made an appointment at the same bar at 11 Fires. The next day we met. I came with Brenda, and we sat down at a table. Sharon looked much better compared to previous years. During the conversation, it turned out that Sharon had been angry at me for a long time and wanted to find me, even hired killers, but it was unsuccessful. As a result, she started going to church and atoned for her sins. And at some point it dawned on her, she realized where she could feel happy and start life from scratch. Costa Rica, the place where I also went. Brenda and I remained in Costa Rica, enjoying the relaxed lifestyle. Sharon moved there, renting my old house, and I helped her secure a job. My anger toward Sharon subsided, and while I didn't love her, I felt she had been punished enough. We bought a bigger house to accommodate family visits. Sharon, working as a waitress, often serves us drinks at the local bar, expressing her regrets. We're not concerned about her actions, as I made it clear she'd be homeless if she jeopardized our well-being. Life has moved on, and we continue to enjoy our time together.
That's the end of the story. Write your opinion in the comments. Did the main character do the right thing that he decided to leave his wife and children? Or could he have handled it more calmly? We believe that the main character made the right choice. He chose to be happy. Yes, the situation he faced was terrible, but the most important thing was that he coped and found the strength to move on. And it no longer matters what he had to do and what he went through, because everything was not in vain. If you liked the story and would like to see more similar stories, then like and subscribe to the channel, so we will understand that this is important for you and will select more interesting and instructive stories as they say more further. Well, we say goodbye to this. Thanks for watching us. Good luck.